Can you hear me? Yeah! Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started then. Oh, cool. So if you have something squishy to sit on, like a blanket or a couch cushion, all good. I have my coffee here, full disclosure, so yeah, get whatever you need. Some of you are out by the pool, which is excellent. It's a beautiful morning. All right. It's so good to see you all. I'm so happy to be practicing with you guys. I've done some Zooming with my corporate clients and folks, but I feel far less connected to them than I do my studio community folks. So it feels just so wonderful to be able to practice with and alongside you, even though we're far apart and distant. So thanks so much for waking up early to practice. Let's begin lying down. So if you would, or in a seated position, we're going to just take a few minutes to kind of come into the body and meditate a little bit. So whatever feels best for you, whether you're seated, or whether you're lying on your back in a shavasana-like shape, you can bring your feet to the floor, let your knees point up. I'll let you settle in. And as you come to that comfortable position, gently close your eyes. And this next breath, feel the descent of the body, the pull of gravity on the exhale. If we think of the body as a container of sorts, how can we begin to blur the edges of those lines, or the outer edges of the container, so that they soften a little bit and that they start to melt and mold into the breath and towards the floor. With this sense of awareness, we might be able to feel where we're holding tension in the body. And some of those physical barriers or holdings on that we might not have recognized up until this point this morning. And recognizing the physicality of what you're feeling in the body, you might also begin to dig a little more deeply, more subtly, into sort of the emotional feelings or attachments that you have to those physical feelings. There's not really a right or a wrong. I know for me lately, my feelings have been felt quite significantly, and you might feel the same. And there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with it. Just identifying, being able to identify when or how we feel anger or sadness or joy, and what that feels like in the body, how it manifests in our physical sort of being. And start to envelop those feelings or sensations with the breath, and see if there's room to create some space. Again, no right or wrong, just exploring, feeling the breadth and the expansive quality of the inhale, and the relieving quality of the exhale. Feeling where the breath easily travels, where it easily moves within and throughout the body, and where you might be able to stretch it a little further, a little more deeply. May we bring this awareness of breath into our practice and into our movements today, and maybe throughout the rest of our day, or weekend ahead, rather. Looks like we're all lying down. Let's gather the knees in towards the chest, give them a big squeeze, big hug. Rock gently from side to side, and gentle massage of the low back. Keep your right knee drawn in towards you. Extend the left leg long, long, long in front of the body, leading with the heel. So you activate the back side or the back channel of the leg. And take that right arm out to the side. Use your left hand to pull your right knee across the body. We'll twist over to the left. If you have that block or that cushion that you'd like to place beneath your right knee, feel free. Ideally, we soften the hip flexors enough so that gravity can really do the work here. That gentle twist the spine, however gentle we need it to be to allow the breath to maintain its fluidity. Let's find our way back to center, gathering both knees in again. Rock a little bit from side to side. We'll try that same twist on the other side. So keeping the left knee in, drawn in close. Extend the right leg long. Lead with the heel, flex your toes towards the sky. And then take that left arm out to the side. Use the right hand to pull the left knee across and over to the right. And despite the rotation in the spine, can you create an unfurling of the breath? So can you expand even more deeply despite that rotation? And soften even more. Inhaling back to center, gather both knees in once more. And take the knees a little bit wider towards the outer edges of the rib cage. Send the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, towards the sky, wherever you are in space. A little happy baby here, happy Friday. You can grab outer edges of the feet or the backs of the thighs to gently rock from side to side. And then gather the knees back in towards you. Draw your navel to your spine. Begin to rock and roll up and down the length of the spine until you come up to a seat. That cushion or blanket yoga block might be useful as you find a nice tall spine. You can keep the eyes closed so long as that feels safe. With the rooting of the sit bones, creating a connection between the sit bones and the tops of the shoulders, can you feel the breath follow the trajectory of the spine and that kind of line that you've created or drawn in your mind's eye? Watch the breath move up and down, in and out and through. And keeping this tall spine, keeping that length and that connection, start to melt the chin towards the chest. And drag the chin across the left collarbone over towards your left shoulder. And from there, can you melt your left ear to your left shoulder? So we rotate the head and neck a little bit. The tip of the nose points forward, and we'll use it to create a big rainbow arcing shape. Up and over, we go to the right side. So bringing the right ear to the right shoulder. Can you then melt your chin towards your shoulder? And drag the chin across the right collarbone, through the center of the chest, and back over to the left again. Try this a couple more times, chin to shoulder, and then ear to shoulder, feeling that lateral stretch on the right side. Tip of the nose points forward, and we use it again as a reference to create a big semicircle, over to the right. Right ear to right shoulder, chin to right shoulder, and drag it through center and back over to the left again. Try it one more time in this direction. Taking things nice and slow, noticing where those sticky spots might be, seeing if there's room to maybe pause or breathe a little more deeply to invite some extra space. The next time the chin comes to the center of the chest, let's reverse and backtrack to go the other way. So dragging the chin across the right collarbone, we make our way to our right shoulder, melt the right ear to the right shoulder, tip of the nose points forward. Try to keep the movement of the shoulders minimal. Up and over we go to the left. So it's the head and neck that are doing most of the work and moving. It gives us a little more feedback on where those tight or sticky spots might be. A couple more in this direction. If it becomes dizzying at all, if you have your eyes closed, you can open them at any time. The next time the chin comes back to the center of the chest, after that third or so round, go ahead and realign the ears with the tops of the shoulders. So now we can connect the ears to the shoulders, shoulders to the sit bones, and we might feel a little extra length, a little extra space. Notice how that manifests through the front of the throat and the back of the neck, even the sides of the neck. Let's try to keep that as we make our way forward. Come into a tabletop shape. We'll bring wrists beneath the shoulders and the knees under the hips. Take a few rounds of the good old cow and cat. Yeah? Inhale to drop the belly, broaden the collarbones, gaze forward and up. And then use your exhale to press the floor or the ground away from you, hollow the belly, round the spine. Again, inhaling, feel the opening and the stretch through the front line. And similarly, on the exhale, feel the rounding or the stretch through the back side of the body. A few more on your own. Allow the fluidity of the breath to be your guide. So the movement follows the inhale and the exhale. Let's do one more round. At the completion of your next exhale, let's make our way back to a neutral spine, nice long tabletop shape, and from there make a few big circles with the hips in either direction. They don't have to be circles, they can be ovals or even rectangles, all good. Find what feels good in there. Make it your own. And if you've gone one direction, start to find a healthy stopping point, pause, and reverse, go the other way. And gradually return to a tabletop position. Wrists still beneath shoulders, knees still beneath hips. Bring your right hand to the back of your skull. Keep that length in the spine. Try to keep your hips as square and as stable as you can. Let's rotate the spine a little bit. So we press that left palm deeper into the floor to find lift up and out of the left shoulder. Use your next inhale to rotate from the middle part of the back, open up through the chest. And then exhale to square the shoulder, back to neutral. Couple more like that. Inhale, open up. And exhale to square. See if you can breathe into the back side of the rib cage and the lungs. One more time, we inhale, open up. Keep that twist. Send your right arm towards the ceiling, the sky. Deep inhale. We'll exhale to thread the needle. So the right arm comes underneath us. Onto the right shoulder we come. The hips stay elevated. If there's an extra flare that you'd like to add to this shape, make it your own. Feel the breath. Just feel where it is, how it travels, where it can expand. Gradually return to a tabletop position. Take your time. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips yet again. And we'll start on the left side. Yeah. So bring the left hand to the back of the skull. Nice and long through the spine, hips square. They stay stable. Inhale to open up through the back side of the lungs and the ribs. Take a twist. And then exhale, square off. Inhale, open up, nice and wide. And exhale to square. A couple more. Inhale, good. The next time you inhale to open up, keep that twist, send your left arm towards the ceiling. And then thread the needle here. Left arm sweeps underneath the body. We come onto the left shoulder. Keep the hips elevated. An option to make it your own, maybe stretch the right arm forward. Consider where the hips are in space. Gently rock them to the right or to the left. See if you can create any more stretch through the side of the rib cage, the spine. And gradually we'll bring the right palm back beneath the shoulder. Guide yourself back up. Awesome. And then keep the length in the spine here. Tuck your toes under. Drive your hips up and back behind you into downward facing dog. And pedal the feet from side to side. Wake up the backs of the legs and body however you need to. Feel that earthly connection between the palms and the yoga mat or the ground beneath you and the balls of the feet. Using those points of connection as our foundation, can you hollow and lift a little bit higher through the core? Feel the sit bones reach higher towards the ceiling. Notice if that allows the the head to get even heavier towards the yoga mat or to help release some tension there. Do check in with the jaw, the front of the throat. Notice what you might be holding on to, whether it's necessary. Keeping the head nice and heavy, the neck long. Soften the knees as much as you need to walk your feet towards your hands. And once your feet make it close to your hands there, flop over the legs like a rag doll. Again, keeping the knees bent creates more space for the low back. You can grab opposite elbows here. Rock from side to side. Nod the head. Yes, shake it. No, shake it maybe. Maybe's got a shape. I feel like there's a lot of maybe these days, right? Nothing's too sure. We're here for it. Noticing where the breath is here. Do you feel it through the low back or the back side of the lungs and the ribs? And might it stay there? As we release the clasp of the elbows, carve the tailbone underneath us and slowly roll up. Come all the way to standing. And take your time to get there. As you make your way to the top, once you come to that standing position, take a full breath in to draw your shoulders up and back behind you. We'll exhale to let them glide towards the heels. My head might be cut off a little bit. Let's see. Okay. Come to a Tadasana-like shape. Ankles under hips, feet about hips width distance apart. And if it feels comfortable, close your eyes. And bring one hand to your heart. And let the other hand come on top of that hand. And that thing that's thumping in your chest, can you start to develop or create a connection between that thumping and the grounding of the feet? And can the breath start to connect those two dots? And keeping a sense of that connection, gently release your arms by your sides. Bringing even more awareness to the soles of the feet. Might you lift all 10 toes, spread them wide, and then ground the toes back down. And notice what sort of surface area you take up here. And use that force or that dissipation of energy to kind of draw all the way up the body, through the spine, through the crown of the head. And we'll carry this as we continue to move throughout our practice. On a deep breath in, send your arms up and over your head. Bring the palms together. Then hinge at the hips. Soften the knees as much as you need to fold over the legs. We'll use our next inhale to lengthen the spine, come up halfway or less. A little tabletop shape with the back. We'll lead with the chest to fold forward. So ideally we keep the length in the spine as we fold. Again, inhaling to lengthen from the tailbone all the way through the crown of the head. And then exhale to gently soften and release. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, stretch long. And exhale to settle. And keeping the knees soft, plant the palms. And then either step back or crawl forward into a plank position, depending on where you are on your yoga mat. We'll press the floor away from us. If the knees need to come to the floor at any time to protect the low back, allow for that. Deep inhale. Exhale, knees down. Come all the way to the belly. Elbows graze the sides of the rib cage. When you get to the belly, untuck the toes, roll the shoulders away from the ears, and draw the elbows a little closer in towards the spine. In gravitating towards the spine, we can kind of allow that channel to help inform the lengthening and the lift of the chest. We'll inhale here, and then we'll exhale to let all that go. Twice more. Inhale, stretch long, lift up, and exhale to release. One more time, inhale. Nice and light through the hands, the fingers. Exhale to soften. Inhale to a tabletop position, please. From there, shift back into child's pose. And to get there, maybe walk hands back so that the hips get heavy towards the heels. And then from there, elongate and stretch the body forward. Ideally, the forehead connects in some way, whether it's to the floor or stack palms. Find your flavor. And feel your breath. Notice where it is in the body. from child's pose. Let's gradually find our way back into a tabletop shape to then tuck the toes under and drive the hips up and back again into down dog. Take a deep, full breath in. Open the mouth, let it go. Let's do that again. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. And on your next exhalation, crouch, look towards your hands. Use an inhale to either step, or hop or jump towards the hands. We'll lengthen the spine from there to come up halfway. Again, we'll use the exhale to fold. Root into the feet. And inhale, come up. Gather the arms overhead. And as you exhale, release them by your sides. Cool. Keeping that length and strength in the body, let's inhale to sweep the arms back up and over the head. Interlace your fingers, turn the palms up towards the ceiling. And feel the connecting point between the soles of the feet and the palms themselves. Grow that space a little bit longer and take a deep breath in. And use the exhale to shift slightly over to the right or to the left. We've only got two sides, we'll do both of them. Notice when or if the breath starts to become challenged or shallow in any way. That's a sign to kind of reel things back a little bit. And find a more spacious kind of opening or variation. Inhale to come back to center. Let's do that to the other side, keeping length through both sides as you explore. And really feel the rooting of the feet and the length and the tethering through the inner line of the legs. Inhale to come back. Exhale to release. All right, if you aren't already at the top of your yoga mat, find your way there. We'll inhale the arms up and over the head just as we've done. Hinging of the hips, let's fold over the legs. A little length in the spine to come up halfway. And if you would, use the exhale to plant the palms and step the left leg back behind you. So the right foot is forward. We're in a lunge. Yeah. Then guide your left knee to the floor. See if there's room to untuck your left toes. Let your hips start to get heavy towards your right heel. For those of you that have joined in a little bit later, or those that, haven't, if you've got blocks or if you've got bean cans or some sort of prop to help bring the floor to you and support you, totally encouraged, though not a hard and fast rule. And keeping the hips heavy towards that front heel, chin to chest, can you melt the shoulders over that thigh? Again, checking in with the spaciousness that you feel through the front of the throat, the tops of the shoulders, even the jaw itself. On your next inhale, lift the head, neck, shoulders, and shift the weight of the hips back towards the left heel. Not all the way, just enough to flex your right toes towards the ceiling. If you've got blocks or bean cans or any sort of props, you can bring them with you for support underneath your shoulders. Take a nice deep breath in, find length in the spine, tailbone reaches back, sternum reaches towards the toes. We'll use the exhale to fold over the front thigh. Make it exploratory if you'd like. I like to explore kind of the rotation of my leg within my hip socket, turning my right toes out to the side. And then the other way. You might find some sort of sensation through the IT band. And if you take my classes often, you know that I say it kind of ad nauseum. It should hurt so good, John Mellencamp style. But again, use the breath as a guide to know how much is too much. Toes will turn back up towards the ceiling. Let's bend into the right knee to ground the sole of the right foot. Place your blocks off to the side just long enough to tuck your back toes under, lift your back knee. Plant into the left palm, send your right arm towards the ceiling. Take a twist. Deep inhale. Exhale. There might be room to anchor your right hip a little further back towards your left heel. Notice what that does to the right side of the waist. Another deep breath in. We'll use our next exhale to ground that right palm. Take a step forward to fold over the legs. Inhale, lengthen the spine, come up halfway. Exhale to let it go. Same thing other side. We plant the palms here to step the right leg behind us. Find that lunge. Bring the right knee to the floor. Untuck the toes. Let the hips get heavy towards the front heel. Bringing props underneath the shoulders. is encouraged, though not required. Hips heavy, chin to chest. Start to melt and mold over the left thigh. I like to imagine that I could physically send my breath into the low part of the back. If you can create that visual for yourself, notice how that kind of translates into the front of the right hip. And if that's too far-fetched, just keep breathing. On your next inhale, lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Shift the weight of the hips back towards your right heel to flex your left toes towards the sky, the ceiling. We'll find some length in the spine here. Use the exhale again to melt and mold over the front thigh. If you chose to create a little bit of movement within the hip socket on the previous side, you're welcome to explore here. Finding rotation from deep within the hip socket. So not just the ankle, right? It's coming from kind of the depths of the hip itself. You might feel I was going to say gentle, but it's a not so gentle stretch through the IT band. Yeah? And if you didn't know where your IT band was, now you do. And turning your toes back up towards the ceiling. Bring the sole of the left foot back to the floor. So it stamps into the yoga mat. Tuck your back toes under your right toes. Lift your right knee. Pressing into the right palm, find some lift up and out of that right shoulder, and rotate from the middle of the back. Send your left arm high to the ceiling. Deep, full breath in. Exhale. Another inhale. And then use the exhale to ground the left palm. Instead of stepping forward, let's take a big step back into downward facing dog. Full inhale. And exhale. One more, just like that. On your next inhale, feel the hollowing and the lift of the belly to reach the sit bones a little higher towards the sky, and send your right leg up and back behind you. Keeping the shoulders as is, keeping them stable and square, can you start to rotate your right hip, your right leg within the hip socket, stacking the right hip on top of the left. We can bend the right knee and guide our heel towards our bum. And feel the opening and the stretch through the front of the right thigh. If it makes sense or resonates, you can make a couple of big circles within the hip socket just to feel the feels. If you've gone one way, maybe go the other. And we'll inhale to re-extend the right leg. Exhale to square the hips. Take another breath in here. And then exhale, bring your knee to your nose. Gently guide the right foot between the hands. It might not make it all the way, right? It might be back a little bit. You can schlep it forward, yeah? Lasso it forward. Keeping that back knee lifted this time, or bringing it to the floor if you need it. Try keeping it lifted. Can you hug the inner line of the legs together and stack your shoulders over your hips? Arms might lift and extend up towards the ceiling. I'm gonna rotate here. Look at all of us warriors, so great. Consider releasing your right palm to your right thigh. Find some length and strength through the left side body, and then lean over towards that bent knee, that bent leg. And notice what you feel through the front of the left hip. You can keep the arm overhead. You might even bring the hand to the back of the skull, almost lean into the hand. So you open through the shoulders, or the front of the shoulders and chest, as you open up through the front of the left hip. Inhale to send the arms back up. Let's exhale to ground the palms. Big step back to downward facing dog. I didn't advertise this as a yoga class, but if a vinyasa sounds like a good idea, you're welcome to go that route. We'll all meet in down dog, taking a full deep breath in, and exhaling to let it go. Trying all that on the left side, can you inhale the left leg up and back behind you? Open the hip. Keep the shoulders aligned and square, and bring your left heel towards your bum. Couple of big circles in either direction if that calls to you. And then the other way. Notice how the stability of the core helps to really invite the rotation of the spine, right? Without letting the shoulders move, we encourage the rotation because the shoulders don't follow the movement of the hips. Re-extend your left leg, square off through your hips, and then exhale. Curl your knee in towards your nose. Plant your left foot between your hands, nice and light. We'll keep our right knee lifted as we come up, sending the arms skyward. We'll soften your back knee a little bit, see if there's more room for the hips that you can create there. Just let it be an exploration. If you would, release the left hand to the left thigh, get longer through the right side, start to lean towards the left knee, left side of your yoga mat. If it felt appropriate to bend the elbow, imagine that you're in Santa Cruz or on the beach somewhere. Nice and broad through the chest, spacious through the breath. Inhale to sweep the arms back up and over the head. Let's exhale to ground the palms. Again, take a big step back to down dog. If a vinyasa speaks to you, all good. If not, down dog is where we'll meet. Full inhale. Open the mouth, let it go. On your next exhalation, if you would, crouch to look towards the hands. Inhale to step, step, or hop to the hands. We'll lengthen the spine to come up halfway. Use the exhale to fold. And with the big toes touching, could you inhale to sink the hips heavy towards the heels, extend the arms up towards the sky, the ceiling, come into chair pose. It's all of our favorite, I know. Imagine or tune into that connecting point, or that connecting line between the crown of the head and the tailbone. If you were to tether the line of the spine and gently pull those points in two different directions, what does that create for you and for this shape? Can we find ease and steadiness throughout the whole thing? Bring weight into your left foot. See if you can hover your right foot away from the floor. Notice what that asks of the left quad. Lowering the right foot gently. Can we try it on the other side? Finding a little bit of balance. Inhale. Exhale, release the foot, fold over the legs, let it go. Inhale, stretch long. Exhale to release. We'll inhale to rise. Gather the arms overhead. And exhale, release them by your sides. All right. From the looks of things, we're all still standing. This is good. If you would, from the top of your yoga mat, take a step back with your right foot to turn, well actually, if you need to see me, just widen your stance, yeah? Figuring out the dynamics of video here. We're making our way into triangle pose. That's where we're headed. So if you find it useful, take a step back with your right foot, turn it open to face the right side of your mat. See that the feet are about, 3 feet apart, or the length of one of your legs apart. Cool. And then if you would, turn your right toes towards the back of your yoga mat. If you took a step back with your right foot, turn your right toes towards the back of your mat and angle your left toes in a little bit. We'll send our arms out wide to the sides. So we should see that our right toes and our right fingertips are pointing in the same direction. That's the direction we're headed. Root into your left foot, use it as an anchor. Start to cast the body forward over the right thigh. Feel that alignment and keep it as you tick-tock the arms. Bring them to 6 and 12 o'clock. Left arm reaches towards the sky, the ceiling. The front of the throat is soft. If it's a lot for the neck, to gaze up towards the hand, either gaze straight forward or even down towards your toes. Feel the engagement through the inner line of your legs to fortify the foundation of the body. So you're physically standing in your strength. Rooting into the right foot, inhale, body back up. Let's try it on the other side. Angle your right toes in, turn your left toes to point forward, yeah? Those right toes angle in just enough to give the hips a little more room to move. With your arms long, out by your sides, we reach in the direction that our left toes and our left fingertips are pointing. Start to cast the body in that direction. Nice and long through both sides of the waist. Tick-tock the arms. Left palm to the shin, right arm up. I find that in this shape specifically, I hold a lot through the upper chest and the shoulders, the front of the throat. The same might ring true for you. Is there room to soften? And gaze down at your left toes. Press into the feet. Inhale, rise. Come all the way back up. Let's turn all 10 toes to face this direction. Take your feet just a little bit wider apart. Honestly, if anything, just turn your toes out. Let your heels kind of point in towards you. And start to bend your knees. Bring the palms to the tops of the thighs. And rock a little bit from side to side. Feeling into the hips, the strength of the legs. Good. And find a more centered place. The spine is nice and long. So again, we've created that connection between the tailbone and the crown of the head. We'll take a deep breath in. We'll use the exhale to dip the right shoulder towards the midline, twist over to the left. Try to keep your hips kind of square or anchored as they are. So we're just rotating through the spine. Inhale through center. Exhale to the other side. A few more just like that. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Inhale. And exhale. Let's do one more each side. And as you come back to center, feel the evenness and the grounding of your feet. Try to bring a little more weight back into the heels if you can. Start to stack your shoulders over your hips. So instead of leaning forward and tilting the spine, can you create a more upright spine? We'll feel the tailbone get a little longer and the low belly lift up towards the chest. The hands can remain at the tops of the thighs as a means of support. You might turn it into like a look, ma, no hands sort of deal. Palms shine towards the ceiling, the sky. Rock gently from side to side. Feel the groundedness of this shape. If you find that your breath is high up in your chest, start to stretch it down into the hips and into the soles of the feet to draw it right back up again. So we create this cyclical, grounded, and easeful sensation in the pose, despite it feeling like none of those things. Inhale. And exhale. Bring the hands to the hips, rooting into the feet. Inhale, rise. Turn all 10 toes to face the right side of your mat again. Cool. Let's interlace our hands behind us. We'll inhale them out to the side. Exhale, take that interlace behind your back. You can either grab the fingers opposite elbows, maybe fists come together. You find your flavor. Lifting through the heart, the spine. We rise and we hinge at the hips to fold over the legs. Soften your knees as much as you need to create space for the low back. Gently rock from side to side. Feel that cascading sensation or release from the low back all the way through the crown of the head. Can you breathe the breath a little more fully into the front side of the collarbones? Just as you have the back side of the heart and the lungs. Releasing the clasp of the hands, the elbows. Bring the palms beneath the shoulders, please. Use an inhale to find some length in the spine. Stay rather low as you turn your toes back out to the sides. And start to bend into your right knee. Walk your hands over to the right. So finding our way into kind of like a side lunge. The right heel might lift. The left toes might flex up towards the ceiling. All good. We'll stay as low as we can. We can use the support of our blocks or our bean cans if we need it. Yeah? Inhale through center. Exhale to the other side. Again, inhaling center. Over to the right we go. A couple more just like this. Channel your inner spider woman. we're all girls here this morning. Great. The next time you bend into the left knee specifically, so the next time you come towards the front of your yoga mat, go ahead and stay there. Then turn and pivot to face the front of your mat there. We'll plant the palms, take a big step back to downward facing dog. Deep inhale. Open the mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Inhale your right leg up and back behind you. Exhale, bring your right knee to your outer right wrist if you can. So the shin bone is not parallel to the front of the yoga mat. It's more at a diagonal. Yeah. Making our way into pigeon pose. This shape isn't for all of us. And depending on the day, right, that might change. So if you know for certain it's too much for the knees, for the hip, you can come onto the back and cross the right ankle over the left knee to give that thigh a little bit of a hug. Yeah, we're aiming to get into the outer right hip here. If you're coming into pigeon pose and you're still in an upright position, start to melt and mold over the right shin bone towards the floor. Become aware of where that tension might be held in the body. Where it can go, how it can dissipate. I mentioned at the beginning of our time together this morning that this is a time for me anyway, and I know I'm probably not speaking for myself, like where we're just feeling all the feelings at once. It's a lot to regulate. I've found it incredibly useful and helpful to kind of notice the physical manifestations of feelings in my body. So when I feel anger, I feel a hot heat. And I feel like a ringing in my ears and a burning in my belly. And being able to identify those feelings or sensations, I can take kind of an outsider's perspective. I can step out of that anger for a moment, take a breath, and reassess. Same goes for grief or sadness. It might manifest in a kind of a heavier feeling in the heart. Can we begin to identify those physical manifestations of feelings in the body to better regulate them? Let's come up. If you're on your back, go ahead and stay there. But if you're in pigeon pose, come back to an upright position. Let's tuck our back toes under, lift our back knee, and take a big step back to down dog. We'll explore it on the other side. Using a full deep breath in, send the left leg up and back behind you. And then bring your left knee to your outer left wrist. Shin bone again is more at a diagonal. We can inchworm the right leg behind us so that the hips start to anchor and get heavy towards the floor. Lifting the heart, we inhale, we exhale to start melting and molding over the left shin bone towards the floor. Using the breath as a tool to help us kind of witness where we are, whether physically, emotionally. If we can use the breath as a tool to witness the change, the shift. Excuse me, if you're on your back, go ahead and stay on your back. For those of us in pigeon pose, make your way back up to an upright position. Bring weight into your left hip. Swing your right leg all the way around so that the soles of the feet come to the floor. We'll make our way onto our backs as a collective. So as you come to lie down, give the knees a big hug. Rock from side to side. to try, cross your right thigh completely over your left. So it's not quite the supine pigeon pose. It's a thigh-to-thigh connection. And then from there, we'll take the feet a little bit wider apart. So we want to use the strength, the inherent kind of musculature of the legs to take the feet wide apart. And then see from there if there's room to draw your knees a little bit closer to your chest. Try not to use your hands to start. Notice what you feel through the outer right hip. If you'd like to deepen this stretch or take it a little bit further, you can reach for the shins as if they're the handlebars of a bicycle. You can reach for the soles of the feet. Feel the groundedness through the back body, the settling of the low spine, the back of the neck, that space between the shoulder blades. And seeing that the right thigh is over the left, let's keep that orientation of the legs, but release the feet. Yeah, just kind of let them flop. Take your arms out wide into a T shape and let the body twist over to the left. We'll let the head rotate to the right. If this feels too twisty, right, too spirally, you can release the legs however you need to and take as deep or as gentle of a twist as you need. Feel the opening across the collarbones. Sending breath deeper into the belly if that's possible. Inhaling back to center when you're ready. Take your time. Let's uncross and recross the other way. So the left thigh crosses over the right. Again, it's a thigh-to-thigh connection, almost like you're doing eagle pose on your back if you're familiar with eagle pose. With that thigh-to-thigh connection, we actively spread the feet wide apart. And then from there, start to draw the knees in towards the chest. You can start to feel a little bit of sensation, or maybe a lot of bit of sensation through the outer left hip. If it makes sense to grab the shin bones, either an underhand or an overhand grip will do. Try not to let the hips lift. Keep the low spine long and grounded. And releasing the activation of the legs, let the feet kind of flop and dangle. We'll keep that thigh-to-thigh connection as we send the arms out wide into a T shape or a cactus shape. We'll let the legs fall over to the right as the head rolls and rotates to the left. And again, we create a twist in the body. Can the body begin to unfurl within this twisted position? And we kind of find that balance between the two. Inhale the body back up. Uncross the legs, give the knees a big squeeze, a little rock from side to side. We'll keep the knees nice and wide here. We'll explore happy baby. So explored at the beginning of our time together. It might feel a little bit different this time around. You can grab opposite, kind of the outer edges of the feet or the backs of the thighs. Gentle rocking from side to side. Feel the connective quality throughout the spine, not only to the floor, but to the breath. Feel the breath traveling up and down, in and out and through. And start to release the soles of the feet. You can either extend the legs long into a more traditional Shavasana-like shape. It might feel nice to bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees open wide like a book. You can use the support of your yoga blocks or your couch cushions or whatever beneath the knees for support. Yeah, I think so. If it feels comfortable enough to do so, let your arms come by your sides and feel the external rotation of your upper arm bones. So the palms face up. You create all sorts of breadth and expansion across the collarbones and the chest. And notice how the hips follow suit. How the leg bones start to roll away from the pelvis. And start to gradually descend closer and closer to the floor beneath you. And notice how gravity plays a role. And how the breath then encourages that gentle pull of gravity. And as the body rests, the mind might not be able to do so as easily or as efficiently. If and when, mostly when, those thoughts start to arise, is it possible to simply label that thought as simply a thought? So we don't become attached to the thought, we just label it, name it as a thought, so that we can gently let it go. Same thing with the next thought, the next feeling. Hear the ringing of a bell 3 times, it's an invitation to start coming back into the breath, into the body for now. Let's continue to follow the pattern of the inhale and the exhale, and the subtleties of emotion that make their way in and out and through. Open the mouth, let it go. And start to feel the breath course up and down the length of the body. Notice how it stretches into the kind of the outermost depths and corners of the body itself, the fingers, the toes, the wrists and ankles. Inviting a little bit of movement into those places if that resonates, if that makes sense. Using the breath as an impetus for bigger movement, bigger stretching and gradual awakening, reawakening in the body, arms overhead, legs long, whatever you need to do to find some space. Keeping our awareness to the pull of gravity and the feeling of the breath within the body. Start to make your way onto your side into a fetal position. And see if you can keep your eyes closed throughout this transition. Noticing on your side where you feel gravity, where you feel the breath perhaps shift as you've made your way from your back to your side. And using the kind of newfound ballooning of the breath through the backside of the lungs and the rib cage to float your way up to a seat. Keeping the eyes closed again if you can. Find your way up. Shoulders over hips, ears align with the tops of the shoulders. We find that length in the spine again. Let's guide the palms together at the center of the heart. And create a gentle lift of the heart into the hands. And notice Notice the sensations that arise here. You might feel the warmth of the palms, the thumping of that thing in your chest as it meets the thumbs. The recognition that this breath isn't just our own. It's a collective breath. It's a process and a chain or a link that connects and binds us all. And may we move from this place, always this place of awareness. And gently bow the head. Thank you so much for joining this morning. Namaste.